good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this latest webinar from NextGen Planners and from Doc Vinci on how to build an engaging email funnels. Now, there's loads of you signed up for this. Thank you so much to everybody for giving up your time on what I'm sure is a very busy, what is it today? Thursday afternoon. So I really appreciate everybody coming along, and I hope that you get something useful out of it today. If you don't know me, my name's Dan, and I'm the head of marketing at NextGen Planners and also chief designer at Doc Vinci as well. And today we're going to take you through some ideas on something which is actually quite a simple thing that you can implement in your financial planning business. But when everybody sees that term, they get terrified by it. The aim of today is to just bring it closer to you and to make sure that you feel like it's something that you can do, but also hopefully to trigger you to actually take some action afterwards as well. So I'm just going to share my screen. And we're just going to present these slides, and I'm going to have a look just to make sure that everybody's seeing it. But if anybody can't see the slides, please just do let me know either in the chat or anywhere that you are able to, or you can just raise your hand as well. But yeah, so today we're going to look at how to build an engaging email funnel. And the idea, like I said, with this is that you can go away and you can put this into your business as soon as you want to. So you can take the ideas that we give you today, and you can go ahead and you can start thinking about how you can implement this in your business. Although it's simple, I'm not saying it's easy. There's a lot of things that you have to think about, but hopefully today what we can make you realize is it's something that everybody can do in their business. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through some key tips for helping you to build an email funnel. So we've got, I think, 7 or 8 tips in total. Some of them will be things that you already know. Some of them will be new. But the idea with that is to just give you good practice and hopefully show you that, again, it's simple and it's not actually rocket science. It's something that you can take away and implement. What we're not going to do is tell you how you should do it. There's so many ways of doing these things. So what we're going to do is we're just going to give you ideas instead. And we're going to try as much as we possibly can to say the word should. And instead, we're going to try and say could or something like that. But just to give you as many ideas as possible, not telling you what the best way to do it is, just giving you some ideas on how you can implement it, because everybody's email funnel is going to be different. But first, what you might be thinking, you might be sat there thinking, I've Googled this in the past and I'm still confused about it. What the hell does it mean? And what the hell does it mean for me? And I don't blame you for thinking that, because if you Google email funnel, I would imagine you'll probably get billions of hits on Google. Everybody's got different definitions of them. And I'm probably going to give you a different definition of it now as well. But hopefully what we'll do is we'll bring some context to it and show you what we mean when we say email funnel. So what the hell is an email funnel then? So on the face of it, an email funnel in our world is simply just a way to get people into your audience, whether that's a mailing list or even just your sphere, or if it's just a philosophical thing of just being in your network. It's a way to get people who don't know who you are and what you do, or maybe they do, but they're not engaged with you at all, into something more formal in that they're receiving communication from you. So if you can think about that traditional marketing funnel of, people who use this all the time, who say that the idea is that at the top of the funnel, you've got awareness, and at the bottom of their funnel, you've got something like action or something like that. And the idea with it is that you could move people down the funnel and they become warmer and warmer and warmer until eventually they're hot and they get in touch with you. So the idea with the email funnel is that it's at the very top there. It's something that they haven't engaged with you yet, and they're pretty new to the way that you communicate, and they're pretty new to your message as well. So again, if you could just think about today as simply just a way to take people from awareness to knowing what it is that you do. Again, there's so many different ways to define these things, but that's how we're going to talk about them today. And as we're going through, if you could just constantly think that that's the aim of what these funnels are trying to do. They're trying to take people from awareness, so they know what you're talking about, through to action. And that action could be anything. That action could be booking a call with you on Calendly. It could be sign up for one of your courses. It could be even just being in your mailing list. It could be coming along to an event. It could be, getting in touch with you on your website. There's so many different things. And that's the great thing about it, is that you can pretty much design these funnels to do whatever it is that you want them to do. And the action at the end can be completely decided by you. So that's why we're not going to tell you how you should do it, because there's loads of ways to do it. So the action can be pretty much whatever you want, but it always follows that framework of taking people from awareness or cold through to action or hot. And that's the whole idea of these things. Before we just go into the tips, I just wanted to kind of summarize why we think they're great for financial planners. So the ones that I really love are in bold. I love them all, but the ones that we really, really love and really important are the ones that are in bold there. So you can see helping to grow your target audience and perfect for growing your mailing list as well. So these things can eventually get you from that, where you've got no mailing list at all through to having thousands and thousands of people in there. And we've seen it happen. We've seen it work. These things actually really do work as long as you put the time and the effort into making them work. As a result of that, as a result of the growing target audience and the mailing list, what we generally find is the correlation between new leads as well. Kind of just basic maths that the more people who are in your audience, basic sampling would suggest that that generates more leads for you as well. So if you're looking for ways to generate new leads in your business, I'd imagine a lot of you are by coming along to this webinar. This is a really, really great way to start doing that, and a pretty simple one as well. They are cheap and simple to run. So, you could have this up and running tomorrow for about 30 quid or something like that. They're not expensive and they are pretty simple to put into practice. They're easy to build and maintain as well. So they take a lot of effort, but like I said before, they're not rocket science, and the maintaining part of it can be done all through automations and through technology. So you actually don't need to do that much. Once you've built it, you just let it run. And that's a really, really useful marketing tool for your arsenal. And one of the best things about them, I think, is that they build you up as a thought leader. So the idea of a thought leader is that you are the go-to person for a specific area. So whether it's financial planning, whether it's a specific area of financial planning. So for example, people who are, I always come to the example of people who are financial planners for people who are going through divorce. If you can become the thought leader in that area, you're the person to go to. This kind of stuff can really help to build. It's not going to do it overnight, but it can really help to build up that presence in the area of you being the thought leader and the person to go through to for this. And the final one that's in bold there, just they're fun. You can really, really kind of experiment with these. They're not one size fits all. You can do whatever you want with them. That's one of the things that stops people from doing it, is because often it demands quite a lot of creativity. And obviously that demands effort. So it's quite uncomfortable at first, but eventually they do become really fun because you can play around with them. And eventually, hopefully, as you see those leads come in, that makes it even more fun for you as well. So tip number one is kind of related to them, and it's to not overthink it. And this is probably the biggest thing that we see from people when we talk to them about this, is that they're purely just overthinking this stuff. The biggest blocker ultimately in this will not be the technology. It won't be your compliance department. It won't be anybody else in your business. It won't be the time. It'll be you. It will be your internal thoughts and monologues that you have with yourself, stopping you from doing this, thinking that it needs to be perfect, thinking that it needs to be the best thing ever. Ultimately, everybody had to start somewhere once. These people who've got email funnels which have, or mailing lists which have millions of people, they would have started from zero originally. And so don't let you and yourself be the blocker in this, because that's what most people do. Your goal with it is to be useful rather than perfect. So there's a real kind of gulf between being useful and perfect. Done is always better than perfect. So with this, just try and think of something as useful, but not perfect. And eventually you can add to it and make it better over time. So try and get that into your mind, that it's trying to be useful, not perfect. And ultimately, if I can be blunt about it, it's just get bloody started. That's the thing, is, think you don't even need to build the whole thing in one go. You can just start it, and you can imagine these things, and you can put in some thoughts about it and some frameworks and some processes. But the best thing to do is, as always, just get bloody started. Number two is to get clear on who it's for. So there again, this goes back to the idea of building up your thought leadership. What you really want to have a think about before you build anything like this is who you're actually targeting it with. So hopefully you've got a target audience, and if you don't have like a specific niche or anything like that, that's fine. But as long as you can identify who it is that you're wanting to do this for, because ultimately, if you try and target everybody in the world with this, you'll realistically speak to nobody with it. So really, it's important to get clear on who it's for. So it should be aimed at your target audience. Some examples there are doctors, business owners. It doesn't have to be demographic related. It can be, psychographic related. So it can be relating to a certain period of somebody's life. So for example, going through retirement. going through big life events or life changes. There's loads of different things that you can use, and hopefully you've got your target audience in mind already. But if you don't, then this can be sometimes a useful exercise for bringing that out as well. So have a think about who you want it to be for, and when you're going through it, just always come back to that person, always come back to that target audience, and think, would they find this useful? The content should absolutely be tailored for them. So whether it's videos, whether it's the stuff that we're going to talk about today, everything should have that client in, or that prospect in mind, and it should be designed very, very much for them to find it useful. And the final thing is that your title should be enticing, and it should be something that they can't miss. So the goal of ultimately all of this kind of stuff is to make it so that they can't scroll past it, or they can't simply just ignore it because it looks so damn useful to them that they feel like they absolutely need it. And in the busy world that we're in today, with so much going on, so much stimuli thrown at us, your goal with this is to make it as interesting as possible, not clickbait. So not promising the world and giving shit, but promising something really, really cool that reflects actually what it is. And I've put some examples there. So if, for example, you're thinking that you could probably get loads of people in this with the, I don't know, X financial planning mailing list, that's a little bit boring. I think I'm actually falling asleep as I'm saying that out loud. And, I would imagine a lot of you guys in the audience are probably thinking the same thing. That isn't really going to grip people, because it sounds too much like you're focused on you rather than focused on the audience. And there's ultimately no incentive there. That's what all of this is about, is giving people incentives and giving them a reason to sign up for this kind of stuff. Instead, I thought of this in a few minutes last night. It's not the best ever, but it doesn't take long to think of something quite interesting. So if you're working with dentists, for example, as your target audience or your specialism or your niche or whatever you want to call it, something like the Wealthy Dentist Toolkit. Now, immediately I see that and I think, I've never seen those four words together before, or something like that. And especially because it's got the target audience in there and the transformation, as in wealthy, and also what they're going to go through, as in toolkit, that immediately strikes up a little bit more intrigue. So you can apply this to whatever target audience you use. ChatGPT is really good for this kind of stuff, or other AI tools out there. There's so many of them. You can literally just put in, create me a idea for an email funnel name, or 10 ideas for an email funnel name. Some of them will be terrible, as you probably imagine with AI, but some of them will be amazing, and some of them will give you a good idea where to go to. But always try to think, what is going to make people sign up to this, not what actually is it. Because if you're explaining what it actually is, there's no incentive there for the audience to sign up for it. So tip number 3 is to build a clear process for it. And by this, I don't mean just the kind of the technology and all that kind of stuff. I mean actually what it is that email funnel gives people. So for example here, this is kind of built on a lot of the things that we've been doing with firms recently. And I've just come up with another title there. So 5 steps towards a happy retirement. Again, not the best name in the world, but again, we're looking for just getting started here. And you can see there that the idea with it is that on day 1, when they sign up to the mailing list, after they've looked at it and they're intrigued and there's an incentive for them to sign up, there's a scorecard or a test or something for them to do to summarize how they're getting on at the moment. So for example, it could be a retirement scorecard that says, how well prepared are you for retirement at the moment? You don't have to spend loads of money on scorecard like technology and all that kind of stuff. You can build a lot of these yourself if you want to. Probably worth spending a little bit of money on them just to make them look professional. The idea with that is just to get them in the right frame of mind and to give them something. And then I've put some examples there. So day later, it doesn't have to be a day later. It can be 2 days later, 3 days later. There's no real maths about it on what is the best time scale. But 1 day later, for example, they get a budget checklist. So with the idea with this is to get them to look through what they're spending, what they're bringing in, and try and get into that mindset of financial planning, and to try and give them something easy to complete. Day 3 might be an investing guide, because a lot of people don't actually know what investing towards retirement means or what it looks like. If you can be really quick and simple and give them a giveaway that says, here's what we think is the best way to build up an investment philosophy or something like that, that can be really good. Number 4 is a retirement guide or a retirement checklist or something that you give them. And hopefully what you've seen throughout all of this, and ending with the 1-page plan, is that you're not only giving them information, but you're actually giving them something actionable as well. And they might do it, But the idea with it is just that you're giving them value throughout. You're giving away all your best stuff, and that's something we're going to talk about later. You're giving away all of your, might not be best stuff, but you're giving loads of things away for free. So they feel like they're getting loads of value from it. So again, this is not the perfect process at all. But as you can see there, there's plenty of incentives in there for them to sign up. There's plenty of reasons for them to enjoy this. And there's loads of useful information for them in there. And as you can probably tell already, this kind of stuff, yes, might take a couple of months or a few months to build in terms of the scorecards, the checklists, the guides, and all that kind of stuff. But once you've got it, yeah, you might have to tweak it every now and again to make sure the figures are up to date. But once you've got it, you simply just put it into the system and let it do it itself. You don't need to be there all the time. So it's one of those things where you front load the work, you do all the work at the start, and it just kind of manages itself over time. So again, just to give you an idea, that's what it could look like. Your aim with this is to make them realize that they don't really have a clue. And I know that sounds quite ridiculous, but the aim of this is to really make them realize that there's a gap in their knowledge or a gap in their understanding or a gap in their life that they didn't really know they had before. They maybe heard the word retirement or something like that beforehand, and then they maybe thought, oh, I'll just think about that later. The idea with this is to strike some, not fear, but some intrigue and some perhaps a little bit of uncomfortableness, if that's a word, in them, where they think, actually, you know what, I'm not really clear on what that is. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to make them feel stupid or confused. So don't throw way too much at them and confusing complex language about all the intricacies of investing and all that kind of stuff, because that is probably just going to make them feel both stupid and confused, which you definitely don't want. And you don't want to tell people that they're doing terribly, because that never works. The idea with it is simply just to say, look, you might not be doing as well as you thought you might work or might be, or maybe you've never thought about this before. But that's what the whole point of this is to take them from an area of not knowing and realizing that they need your help. And that's where you get to that action point in the funnel there. So it's taking people from not knowing through to knowing a little bit more, but to be honest, knowing more that they need help with this kind of stuff. Number 4 is to choose the right technology. So if you put now email software into Google, maybe do it after this, you'd get lost in a massive rabbit hole, because there is thousands and thousands of email pieces of software out there that allow you to do all sorts of different things. I've spoken to people in the last week and not one of them used the same thing. So there's tons of it out there. So what we're going to try and do is just give you some ideas about what the 3 things definitely are that you need to be able to do these kind of things, because they all do pretty similar things. But here's the 3 things that we should absolutely want if you're building an email funnel. First of all, it should be able to create what's called automated sequences. So if we go back to the previous slide beforehand, on there, the automated sequence there is 1 day later, the 1 day later, the 1 day later, that kind of thing. You don't want to, well, you can't possibly be the person who manages this and sends it all the time. You're far too busy, and it's pointless, it's stupid to do that, because the system should be able to do that for you. So make sure to find one that allows you to create those automated sequences in there. MailChimp, ConvertKit, all the big ones, they do it for you. Secondly, you should have the ability to create landing pages. And what I mean by that is somewhere for people actually to sign up. So a lot of them have them. Again, all the big ones have these things, but just make sure that they do have them. So it should be an area where they can put in their name, their last name, and their email address, and it should immediately add them to something. So you can add it to your website, you can put it on social media, you can send it wherever, you can put it in a QR code, wherever you want to put it, but just make sure that it has that ability. Because again, you don't want to be having to get people to sign up elsewhere and then putting them into your mailing list. That's never a good idea. Technology can do it for you nowadays. And the really good one, if you can, is that it links to most CRMs and other systems. Generally, you find that most of them, again, do, but just double check that it does, even if it links to something like Zapier or Make or something like that, so that you can link it to other systems. But again, you don't want to be rekeying data from other places. You want to make sure that the technology is set up so that it does it all for you and does what it's designed for. So make sure whatever system that you're going to use links to most CRM systems. So here's some examples of ones that do all that kind of stuff. So MailChimp does that, for example. ConvertKit, we've already mentioned that. I think it's actually just now called Kit. So apologies for that. MailerLite is a really good one as well. It's probably not as there's not a lot of functionality as the other ones, but it's a really, really simple to use system. It's really cool as well. And Constant Contact, you might have heard of that one as well. So again, a real smorgasbord of options there. There's loads more out there available, but those are generally the four that we hear about from people when we're talking to them about these kind of things. So tip number 5 is to build up loads of resources. And you can see there that we're building one at the moment for the guys at Plan 100, and this is something that they give at the end of the, or near the end of the funnel. It's a one-page plan. The idea with this is that you build up so much stuff, and this is probably the part that's going to take you the most time at the start, is to build up those resources that you're going to give away. So you may, for example, reuse some content if you've got some already. So if you've already got these things, if you've already got videos or guides or blogs or whatever it might be, reuse some of that stuff. You don't have to create everything from scratch with this. If you've already done, recordings or blogs or whatever it might be, try and think about how you can reuse some of that content towards putting it in the funnel, because it's all going to be useful stuff and it will take less time for you to do that as well. But what you really do want is you want as many giveaways as possible, because you could have every step could give the prospect a task or a giveaway or something like that. But again, what you really, really want, if you can, is to give away value at every single step. Because that's what makes the incentive for people to sign up to it. And the value could be lots of different things. It could even just be a video. It could be even just a blog or an article or something like that. But you just want as many things as you possibly can. And that's where you can get really creative. That's where you can look at those one-page plans. You can look at the budget checklist. You can look at the guides and all that kind of stuff. And it all comes back to what your target audience really wants to see. So again, if it's people who are going through divorce, they're probably going to want to see something like a divorce process explainer or something like that. So that shows them step by step what they should expect if they're going through a divorce. That's priceless for them, because they really probably don't know what they're going to go through. And if you can just give them that tiny, tiny bit of value that's invaluable to them, again, that's a really, really good incentive for them to sign up for this kind of stuff. But again, that's just an idea. There's so many different ones that are available out there. So tip number 6 is to use videos. And again, I know I always bang on about these in our webinars, and people are probably getting a bit tired of me talking about them, but there's a reason for that, is because it's now one of the biggest, well, if not the biggest content creation tool out there. Videos are the winners of everything. So Dan, for example, from TFP, they have their retirement toolkit, which I'll show you a little bit later on. I'll show you a snippet of anyways. They use videos in all of the steps for this. And they're really, really cool, because what they do is they bring the funnel to life and they associate you as the leader in the prospect's minds. So again, if we're going back to the idea of building up that thought leadership, if you can show your face and if you can be present there for these people, that shows that you are the person that they should listen to when they talk about this kind of stuff. They should be short, they should be snappy, and they should be simple. They shouldn't be 10, 15 minutes long, because people really don't have time for, you can have that long if it's going to be something really useful. But generally what people are looking for is they're looking for shorter stuff. And that's the reason why TikTok and all that kind of stuff has really taken off recently, is because it's so short. It's so simple to just, carry on with your day after you've seen it. That's what you want. You want to be part of somebody's day with something really short and easy and simple that they can digest. So keep that in mind, because you don't need to spend thousands on these things either. Production quality, yes, it makes things look better if you've got a nice camera, if you've got a nice microphone, all that kind of stuff. If you've got a studio that you could even use as well. Obviously, I'm not saying it's not going to make it look better, but if you're right at the start, don't let that be the hurdle for you. I would imagine most people have got one of these things, iPhones, Samsungs, whatever it is that you use, and they have really, really incredible video quality on them nowadays. Buy a microphone off Amazon for 20 quid, buy some ring lights off Amazon for 20 quid, and you've got everything that you need to start making these videos. And again, they don't need to be the best things in the world. All they need to do is just get you in front of your audience. And they really, really do make a difference to these funnels as well. So have a think about how you might use these videos in these things. And just as a kind of tip for you, I've mentioned it already today, but ChatGPT can create really, really good video scripts as long as you prompt it properly. So if you prompt it without giving a really good context, it will come up with the worst thing in the world. If you just say, write a video script for this, it'll be terrible. It'll be like an EastEnders script. It'll be awful. What you really want is you want to give it as much detail as possible to say, write this in British English. This is the whole point that I'm recording this video. here's what the script should say, here's what the whole point of the overall funnel is. And that will allow it to create something really bespoke and personalized for you. And then you just copy and paste it, put it into a Word document. You don't have to follow it word by word, but that gives you a starting point to go from. Because that's one of the biggest problems that I see from people is they say, what am I going to say? Nowadays, unfortunately, ChatGPT has taken away that excuse for us. So now we've got something which actually gives us that stuff for free. So check out ChatGPT for that kind of thing. And number 7, which is the final tip for today, is to give it all away for free. And that is probably one of the most scary sentences ever, because you're thinking, hang on a second, I'm in a business here. I'm not here to give stuff away for free. But ultimately, the value is not the information. The value is in your guidance on actioning that information. They could really, with all the, again, research assistants and AI tools available out there nowadays, if they really wanted to, they could find this information out themselves. They don't need any more information. What they really need is, first of all, actionable stuff that they can use, but your guidance on it as well. Likelihood is if they've signed up to your funnel and if they've signed up to something which they want to hear from you on, that means that they want to hear from you on what that is. So make sure that it's not just generic information. Put a bit of your spin on it, put a bit of your guidance on this, because that's what, again, what people really want is they want personalized stuff nowadays rather than just generic information that they could get on Google. Everybody's always out there. And I'm sorry, but nothing that you have is really original. There are still original ideas left in the world. I'm not saying that. But a lot of the stuff that we're thinking about when it comes to this is not original. So don't get caught up on this thing of that everything has to be your first idea and that your idea first and that kind of stuff. Everything's already out there. So make what your job is to kind of control all of that and put it into something useful for the audience and put, again, your spin on it. And the more that you give, the more your prospects feel like they're getting value and the more that they feel like they're getting incentives from this. If they look at all this stuff that you're giving them, even though it takes you a tiny amount of time, or it might take you a little bit of time to build, but it doesn't take much effort to build this kind of stuff or money, really. That kind of perception is that you're giving them way more. And they're probably thinking, wow, he's taken loads, or they've taken loads of time to build this kind of stuff. But ultimately, the more that you can give them, the more they're going to feel value from this. And that doesn't, again, just mean information. Loads of information overload for them isn't really going to give them anything new. It's the actionable stuff, it's the giveaways that is probably going to be the best stuff that will have real results for you and your audience. So that's all the tips over with. We could just now have a quick look at a couple of examples, and I'm not going to go into them too much because they belong to the firms. So if you want to go and check them out, then get in contact with the firms and ask them what's going on. But the first one I've already mentioned a couple of times is the retirement toolkit from the guys at TFP Financial Planning in Essex. They have built this and you can find it on their website. And Dan's done some fantastic work on this. There's loads of videos in there. There's loads of guides. There's loads of checklists that people can use. And it's a retirement toolkit. So it's very much designed for the target audience. And I love the name, the retirement toolkit. So simple, so kind of to the point. And you can see there that it really gives people an incentive. So if you get a chance, go and have a look at it. There's loads of information on what's in there. And yeah, I'm not promising that Dan will want to talk to you about it, but I know Dan, and I think he would be up for talking to people about it as well. Number 2 is still the one that's being built for one of our lovely clients at the moment, Plan 100. They're building one at the moment, which is called 6 Steps Towards Financial Freedom. Again, really lovely title, gives you loads of incentive to sign up. They've, for example, got things like scorecards in there and loads of other useful resources that they're going to give away to people. And that will be coming out soon as well. So that is something to look out for. There's thousands of them out there. So just go and have a look on Google, search in email funnel examples. You can even search in financial planning email funnel examples, and it will show you ones from the States and that kind of stuff, because they love that kind of stuff over there. So go and have a look at what's available out there. And just to get some ideas, again, don't copy, because ultimately then that's just you just taking somebody else's work and it's not going to be right for your audience. But take some ideas about how you can make it work for your target audience. And yeah, there's loads of them out there available for you. So we do have a package at Doc Vinci and NextGen Planners to help you out with this. So if it's something that you've been thinking about for a while, or even if just today you've thought, you know what, I could actually do with one of those. My QR code is on the screen there to book in a Calendly with us. Alternatively, what I'll do is I will send this recording out with an email tomorrow. So my calendar link will be on there if you want to book some time in, and we can have a chat about how we can build these for you and your firm as well. So that's all for me today. That is bang on time, 30 minutes. If anybody does have any questions, I believe the chat is open. So if you do have any questions or anything that you want to ask us, then please do just let us know. Alternatively, if anybody doesn't have any questions today, what we can do is we can you can just reply to the email that I send out tomorrow as well. But I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope that's given you plenty of ideas. If you do have any questions, of course, just give us a shout. But thank you so much for giving up your time on a Thursday afternoon and spending it with us. I hope you have a lovely rest of the week, and we'll see you all very, very soon.